Christian Whiton joins us, former State Department senior advisor and a principal with D.C. International Advisory. Christian, good to see you. What would sending 300 observers into Syria really accomplish?
Very going to accomplish next to nothing. You know, two things, the two words, if you hear together in regard to a foreign policy problem, UN and observers, you just know that we don't have a serious response, either from the U.S. or from the group of nations that would have to respond seriously. You know, there have been observers in Syria before, the Arab League's group and they were inhibited in what they can do. The Assad government will agree to this, possibly to throw a bone to the UN and keep them from doing something more serious, but nothing really is going to come from this.
Well, and before even some of the initial observers arrived, the government was hiding its tanks. It was stopping the shelling. Once UN observers depart a particular area, then it all resumes again. So aren't these observers being deceived deliberately by Assad? And in fact, is he trying, do you think, to erase evidence of war crimes?
Yeah, I'm not too sure he's actually worried about war crimes. That would be a first for him. You know, there was some talk recently in New York and by governments that might intervene, by Turkey, by Britain, by France, about a humanitarian corridor, things short of sending troops or really helping the rebels seriously. And perhaps Assad was becoming concerned that the so-called international community was getting its act together. But so by doing this, you can forestall that. I think that's what's really going on here. He's just trying to forestall more serious action.
As you know, this has been going on for more than a year, 13 months. 9,000 lives plus have been lost, many of them innocent civilians murdered by Bashar al-Assad's government forces. I mean, if this UN-brokered ceasefire fails, and many believe it will that then merit outside military intervention, and by whom?
Yeah, well, certainly not by the United States. I think we have significant interest in Syria, but if you look at the political mood here, and plus the fact that President Obama and his Secretary of State, his Secretary of Defense have not explained what the U.S. interests are in Syria or what the U.S. strategy is in Syria in regard to Syria, hasn't explained it to the American people or to the Congress. So, you know, what we could do is sell arms to the rebels, to the group of the rebels we think are closest to the U.S., i.e. the least Islamist.
Why not a coalition of the willing and NATO forces, the same sort of strategy that was used to oust Libya's Muammar Gaddafi?
Right, if we decide we are serious about stepping into this humanitarian catastrophe, there are reasons. You know, Syria is sort of the mini-me to Iran. It's Iran's its best friend and a conduit of the terrorist tentacles that Iran is wrapping around the Middle East. So there are reasons to get involved. Sure. You know, the difference is we had a long history with Libya. We had essentially been to war with Libya and small-scale operations, and of course their energy concerns.
Right, they have oil, and Syria doesn't really. But let me ask you about Russia and China, Christian, because, I mean, they appear to be protecting Assad and obstructing any resolution to the violence there. What's their motivation? Is it as simple as this? They do not want to see democracy establish a foothold in a place like Syria.
Yeah, I think that's one key issue. They certainly don't want to see liberal democracy spread any further, but they also are anti-U.S. and they don't want regimes that are currently friendly, ones with whom they can engage in corrupt business practices and do economic deals, energy deals. They don't want to see those governments replaced by something that's more transparent, and they like sticking their eye in the finger of America. And the Obama administration outreach to Beijing and the so-called reset with Russia haven't changed the conduct of those governments at all. It's encouraged them, actually.
It's a humanitarian crisis. At least 1 million people in urgent need. The International Red Cross needs to get in there. Dire situation. Christian Whiton, as always, good to see you. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. Great to be here.